All in all, it's been a pretty weird week for TNA. This kinda happens once every couple of years when they briefly become relevant once again. Then everybody moves on and forget they exist. But I won't be able to move on for at least the next month. Stick around until the end of the video if you want to know more about that. So the wrestling world is talking about TNA again, as they're about to air episode 1000, and they are coming to the UK for a tour soon. Now bear in mind, they've actually produced way more shows than 1000. It's just between 2002 and 2004 it was weekly pay-per-views, and they aren't including that in the final number. These are just episodes of TNA Impact. If you really want to know, they've produced 3082 shows so far, which sounds far more impressive. And because Impact is suddenly newsworthy again, well, I'm going to be doing you all a review. But before I can do that, we have to jump over to this week's episode of Ohio Valley Wrestling. Don't give me snake eyes, I'm not being strange, I promise this is going to be relevant to the video. Shut up or I'll smack you one. By the way, OVW upload their episodes to their YouTube channel each week, so give them a subscribe. There's a few people on this show that you may recognise, and of course Al Snow is the owner of the company. But it's more than that, because this is TNA Week. The show itself is 2 hours and focuses on sports entertainment over the in-ring stuff. But the trade-off is that most of the talent are young guys or wrestlers who are deemed not good enough. Al Snow has of course managed to get his new show onto Netflix, which is newsworthy. But anyway, we don't care about any of that. Jesse Goddard is still hanging around here like a bad stench, assuming this isn't his full-time job anymore. But he is the heavyweight champion of the company. There seems to be some sort of faction warfare going on. Goddard is interrupted by EC3, the NWA heavyweight champion. This isn't actually his debut, both him and Jesse are fighting over leadership of some wacky faction. EC3 now has a blonde perm. It looks like a gone off pot noodle. They do a South Park impression, I'm not your guy buddy, I'm not your chief pal, that sort of thing. Jesse makes fun of EC3 for falling off the wrestling world. He says he used to be something. Ethan responds saying that these two are friends. I had no idea these two guys were so close. EC3 says that he thinks Jesse has nothing but looks and sucks as a wrestler. Jesse responds saying EC3 only did well because of nepotism. He does realise that wasn't a real thing, right? EC3 says Jesse has a secret OnlyFans page and he's the disappointed big brother right now. This is an excellent promo. Why isn't EC3 on a bigger show? This is kind of ridiculous. The faction end up siding with EC3 because Jesse is a douche. EC3 tells everyone to look at the monitor, and holy hawk, it's Dixie Carter. She congratulates EC3 on being a world champion and Al Snow for his new show. She tells Jesse Goddard he isn't over and nobody cares about him whilst he dumps in his nappy of anger. She's very proud of EC3 though. It's really strange to see this auntie-nephew thing coming back 8 years after it ended. EC3 is a Carter and the world needs them. She talks for like a minute or two. It's kind of cool seeing her again. I don't think she's been seen since Slammiversary 2020. EC3 is about to shove his thumb up Jesse's ass when the show ends. And I hope all of that has got you hyped for the real TNA show. Let's get into it. The show starts with a really nice video package where they show everyone who helped make TNA throughout the years. Not sure why they decided to show Adam Patman Jones, he sure didn't help. They also showed Monty Brown quite a few times. This had me hoping for him on the show. Most of the people watching this right now have no idea who half these wrestlers are. They think the current show is so amazing. They think Ace Austin is like AJ Styles. Let's see what we're going to get here, because last time they did one of these anniversary type shows, it was a huge letdown. Scott D'Amore is on the dance floor. He sounds like Paul Heyman covered in grease. He brags that he was on the very first episode of Impact. When they say Impact, they're of course discounting the time as NWA TNA. D'Amore says TNA did well because of the TNA knockouts. He brings out Gail Kim. This woman just doesn't age. She must have been on the Nivier, because something sure is landing on that face every day and keeping those wrinkles away. Her microphone skills completely suck and she sounds like nails on a chalkboard. Gail says knockouts are not just about wrestling, and it cuts to Velvet Sky. Huge long video package about all the TNA knockouts. The crowd politely applauds. Then the Beautiful People's music hits. Wow, it felt like such a long time. Angelina Love and Velvet Sky are out, and they're still looking pretty good too, and they're still in shape. They even let the pigeons loose in the 1000th episode. Well, in Velvet's case, it's more like Labradors. See, if stuff like this was happening on Impact every week, I might be able to watch. The arena is somehow worse than the last time I was watching. It's horrible. I bet the Beautiful People never competed in such a small arena. They sarcastically talk to Gail Kim and complain that there's too many ugly women wrestlers in TNA. Velvet says they all look like dirty feet. Gail calls them rude and obnoxious. It feels like bad acting. There's about to be a fight and then it goes dark and out walks Giselle Shaw and her crew. Giselle's very happy to see the beautiful people and says without them, Giselle wouldn't exist. Giselle insults them and some more music hits. Out walks Royden Grace. Royden's hair looks like a filthy mop with pieces of trash stuck in it. Her arms are bigger than every single man in TNA. Her voice sounds like gravel. At this point, I'm pretty sure she could take me. I also read recently that since starting an OF, Jordan Grace has become a millionaire. Why? I just don't understand this world we live in anymore. You all need to take a long look in the mirror and smack yourselves in the gut. I mean it, go do it right now. Now out walks Diana Peraza, who apparently doesn't like any of them. She actually wakes the crowd up as they all cheer for her. Now out walks the current champion, Trinity. She has green hair, but she just don't care. She also has the word champ dyed into her hair. Zero sex appeal on this current roster. You can be a little dork and hate that comment, but it's still important even in this day and age. The casual fan wants something to look at. AEW get this, why are Impact struggling with it? Anyway, Trinity brags about being the champion. It turns into a dick-waving contest as they all brag about how many belts they've all had. And then, wow, it's Awesome Kong. It just got real. She even brings Raisha Saeed with her, who cuts Kong's promo for her and issues an open challenge for next week. Even more music hits. It's Tasha Steelz to zero crowd reaction. She says that she's a badass. Yeah, sure you are, love. She does some bad catchphrases. And then in a really rough and unexpected way, she casually says there's some sort of wacky match happening between them all next week, but she doesn't bother to actually explain it properly. She challenges Kong to a match for the next episode too, so which one is it? Mickie James skips out looking like the Little Mermaid. At this point, we're 25 minutes into the show. Mickie says she's back and is the 5th member of the match that Tasha was talking about earlier. She says their team name is Team Over. I wish this show was over. This is appalling. I actually get my wish though. I think Mickie James's music is hurting Awesome Kong's ears. America's Most Wanted and Eric Young catch up backstage. Santino Marella and Shark Boy are also here. Santino makes Shark Boy the director of authority for the next 2 shows, which means Santino isn't worth a penny. He can't even do his own job. They celebrate with beer. Can't hate on this segment. At 29 minutes, wrestlers started arriving for a match. It's not much for a match though, because it'll be a feast or fired match. Nobody gets an entrance, except Joe Hendry, who has some weird new entrance, but the crowd are all singing along to it, so I can't hate on that. PCO is the only other person who does get an entrance. He thinks he's Frankenstein, and it all goes black and white with thunder and lightning. He dives on top of a crowd of jobbers. Everybody looks like ants frantically running around. Chris Bay carries down a briefcase and awkwardly stalls for time, just so he can jump over someone and jump out the ring. AEW light. There's a huge tower spot in this one with Burpinja Guja at the top. The crowd chant TNA. Can we just change the name of the company back to TNA already? Sami Callihan looks like 100 years old and he looks like the Marshmallow Man. Crazy Steve captures a case, but he's sort of blocked by wrestlers from making it to the floor. Why doesn't he just go backwards? No, instead he pulls out a fork. Moose is scared of this clown with a fork and steps aside to let him through. Why is a referee in this match beating people up? The Marshmallow Man gives him a pile driver. This one dude hits a big springboard crossbody, which is nice to be fair. Callahan tries to take the case off some guy, but they do keep Bull instead, and Callahan can't get the case. Everybody starts running into PCO's clothesline. Jay Vidal tries to get all LGBT with the monster, who chokeslams him. Callahan kills PCO on the apron. Steve Macklin eventually gets the final case, but Rhino turns up and he hits the gore. The case flies out the ring and somehow Moose catches it. The match is over. Rhino looks like a bowl of gravy. Chris Sabin is interviewed now. He has a chance to win the X Division title tonight. He says he'll win because he wants to be the first ever 10-time X Division champion. The Daisy Hit Squad are in the ring, complaining that Impact are trying to celebrate without them. Why are they getting promo time then? They clearly are part of the show. He says, name a team who's done more than us. And the Dudley Boyz music hits. Bubba Ray's obviously been in TNA for the last few months, but Devon has not. For the first time in their careers, I think Devon Dudley may be fatter than Bubba. This will apparently be a match. Bubba keeps twisting on Champagne Singh's arm. He gets a Devon Dudley chant going and tags him in. The crowd chant welcome back. Devon throws some punches and a double clothesline. The Dudleys do a double team as Bubba's eyes always pop out of his head. Singh throws Bubba from the top. He isn't down for long as he spears Rahit. Devon back in, he hits the shoulder block and a net breaker. Now it's the cab driver slam. The crowd chant, "You've still got it." The Dudleys manage to land the what's up, but Devon can't do his taunt anymore. Bubba sends him to get the wood instead. They hit a normal 3D on the bigger guy and that gets them the win. They of course put Rahit Raju through the table after the match, but with a powerbomb. Nice little match and a nice little segment here. The Dudleys aren't young or fit anymore, so it doesn't really matter who they faced. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Unless they are going to be doing one last run. Let me know in the comments what you think the plans are for the Dudleys, if there are any. In the back, Perk Alexander is talking to some stoner kids on the floor. He challenges them to a handicap match, but they don't take him up on the offer because they are scared. The face of TNA is walking out to the ring now, the walking weapon Josh Alexander. This guy is such a star, he's the Kurt Angle of Impact. He won't be wrestling here tonight though because he wants to cut a promo. He says he's the best wrestler ever. For 21 years he's been a TNA fan and he's proud of that. Nerds in the crowd desperately chant for the company. Josh starts crying as he admits that we're on the 1000th episode. He is now grown up though and he fights back tears because he wants to be the champion again. This brings out the current champion, who is Alex Shelley, aka Hitman apparently. Wow, Shelley is a heel? And not a comedic heel? Okay, that's something new, very interesting. Shelley says that everybody else should go away because this anniversary show is all about him. He tells Josh Alexander he's welcome because Shelley made it possible for him to have a job in wrestling. Josh agrees with that statement and thanks Shelley. Alex Shelley calls him a mark. Josh admits he is a mark, but you should never meet your heroes because now he's disappointed. Josh Alexander believes he deserves a thank you too because he carried the company for the last 4 years. The current heavyweight title is one of the ugliest pieces of trash I've ever seen. Shelley says that he's the main character and Josh is just a side quest and he's better than you, baby. No, without the baby part. The Little Rascals return from their smoke break and jump the two heavyweights. It ends up being the Rascals beating up Alexander while Shelley watches. Why does everybody have fake football shirts on? You know what? Nice segment, and Alex Shelley as a clear-cut heel is something new that I can get behind. But my happiness was about to end. In the back, Shark Boy tells the Little Rascals off and puts one of them in a match with Josh Alexander next week. The Rascal says Sharks are stupid. Santina Morella tells Shark Boy how good he is. Kenny King walks up crying, saying that he wants a match tonight. Unfortunately, he doesn't get one. Santino says it's too late. Maybe King should have asked a bit earlier into the show. Instead, Santino gives him a match against Eric Young next week. The good times are officially over because a wild Eddie Slapnuts appears. He brings his piss-covered wife with him. She looks like a toothless crack whore. They are randomly doing a mixed tag team match with Frankie Kazarian and his wife Tracy Brooks. Where's Christopher Daniels at nowadays? I didn't see him when I was watching AEW recently, but he's not here either. Slapnut's wife can't wrestle. It's the most unbelievable fake fighting I've ever seen. Eddie is going for a mohawk look for like the 3rd time in his career. Apart from that, it doesn't seem like much has changed with him. He hits the Red Thunder Bomb on Kaz. Later on, Kaz desperately tries to beat up Pierce Edwards, but he's stopped by the husband. Kaz hits a backstabber to Eddie. He's worn out, but he's only been in there for a couple of minutes. Pierce Edwards hits a diving DDT on Kaz. The happy couple celebrate with a kiss above him, so it's an Edge and Lita gimmick. Kaz is almost dead at this point. Pierce takes Kaz to Pity City. It's interesting that they're doing a sort of Nasty Boys gimmick with these two. Things are really changing around here. Eventually, Frankie almost wins when he takes them both out at the same time. Tracy finally gets the tag. She hits a weak spear and screams, "Come on." Come on what? Slapnuts grabs her. He sprays bad breath into her face. He tries to slam her from the top, but there's an iris rake. Tracy gives him a face buster. Some more shenanigans go on, and wow, Tracy wins with the fade to black. Miss Pierce is now a puddle on the floor. It was fine, but everyone's feeling older and slower. Kaz also cuts a promo. He asks the crowd to look up at the screen. It's another video package about Tracy Brooks. Why her? Why didn't they play this before the match? This video package tries to play it up like Tracy was some massive trailblazer in TNA. It's complete rubbish. She was popular, but she was popular because she was eye candy, and she embraced it. It was not anything to do with her wrestling. Oh, they're doing this because Tracy has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Really? 50 TNA matches in her career, mostly as a jobber. She's not exactly the first thing I think about when I think of this company's history, but I guess someone has to be inducted. Maybe nobody else was available. Where's Daniels? But come on, own it. She was popular. She was popular because she was a diva. I know these are righteous times right now, but let's be honest about this. We now get a recap about how Tommy Dreamer beat up Kenny King on pay-per-view. Tommy Dreamer now has long hair and he cuts a promo struggling to hold back tears. He is the digital media champion and he will defend his belt anywhere against anyone. He admits he's too fat to wear the belt around his waist. His words, not mine. Just the main event for the X Division title now. Chris Sabin doesn't seem to be a heel like his brother Alex Shelley. He faces the champion Lio Rush. The commentators are desperately apologising that they're running into New Japan's television time. I bet that left some of you dumping in your nappies of anger. Anyway, this will be your standard AEW type match, but AEW would do it better. Chris Sabin hits the clothesline from Hell, Michigan. He also hits the cradle shock, but can't get the free. Lio Rush responds with a frog splash and he sells it like The Rock taking a Stone Cold Stunner. It doesn't matter anyway because Sabin does eventually win with the cradle shock. I put a typo in my script and I wrote the cradle cock. Chris Sabin is the 10-time X Division champion, which means he's not good enough for the main. No, I'm kidding. I love Chris Sabin. They make a big deal out of this with him being surrounded by jealous wrestlers. It was a good match, but it's not really the sort of thing I want to see in my main events. And this was my complaint last time I watched the TNA show. All in all, it was a pretty good anniversary show. Maybe they needed one or two old faces. Actually, yeah, they should have got one or two people who were surprises. People who haven't been seen on the show in a long time. Like Sonny Don't Look at His Ass Siaki. This would have made it feel like a more authentic show. Instead, they trotted out the same old tired faces. And I know they love talking about how great the knockouts are in this company, and it's absolutely something to celebrate. But it took up quarter of the show, and I don't even know what the match is that they were trying to set up. So as a segment, that failed. It's great to see the Dudley Boyz again, and actually it's great to see Alex Shelley doing something new. I think Shelley versus Alexander is something I could enjoy. Now I'm going to keep at this because I have 3 front row tickets to the pay-per-view by accident, and I need to try and find some happiness in this show because right now it's a no. But keep watching and you may go, and if you don't agree with that I'll find a cliff and give you a throw.